Just to go over how if statements work in Tinkercad. I'm going to show this example quickly where I'm setting a grade as an integer variable. I'm going to be printing to the serial monitor, so I'll use that serial.begin. And then essentially what this does is it gives the computer to make a choice based on the value that I give for grade. So I'm going to start off with the number 75. It's going to go into this if statement. If grade, this is a comparison, so if the value in the variable grade is greater than or equal to 80, it's going to print out the letter grade A. Else if, which means otherwise if, so if it skips this first one because this one is not true, then it will try the next option. In this case, it'll say is grade, which is 75, greater than or equal to 70, yes. So it should print B. If I change that to, say, a 55, which we'll do when we put it in the serial monitor, then we'll see how the results are different. So in this case, I'm going to grab all this code. I will have provided you this text document. So if you open it up, you can grab that code to test in the serial monitor as well and play around with it a little bit. So once I paste that into the serial monitor, again, I have grade set at 75. So if I start that simulation, and I obviously need to open up the serial monitor, you can see that if I clear it out, it'll just every second, because I have a 1 second delay, it'll just print out the letter grade that person gets. So if I stop the simulation, and like I said, if I change that to say 55, so now it won't satisfy this, so it tries the next one. That's what the else if. You need to be careful here. You can't just say if, because otherwise if more than one are true, it won't branch off to that. So if you think of these as different paths down a road they can take, once it chooses one of the paths, the other paths are no longer an option. So that's why if we start with the first one, we can see that if I had a 55 for my grade, it's not going to satisfy this one, so it skips the over or equal to 80. Goes to the next one, it checks to see if it's greater than or equal to 70. Not true. Is it greater than or equal to 60? Not true. Is it greater than or equal to 50? Yes. Okay, because I have these in the right order and it doesn't satisfy the ones previous, the only one it should print is D. So again, if I start the simulation with that, you can see that in my serial monitor I start printing the value D. Again, if I change that again to 25, start the simulation, and it tells me it doesn't meet any of the other criteria. So the final statement that we have in this if, else if, else if, else if, else, this is kind of the catch-all. So if it doesn't satisfy any of the other conditions, so you can see this one doesn't have a condition. I'm not comparing grade to anything. I'm simply saying otherwise, if none of the other conditions are true, this one must be the one that it meets, and it prints off fail. The other misconception is, and you should have noticed already that it doesn't do it, but the other misconception is if I have 85, that it would meet more than one of these criteria. So 85 is definitely greater than 80, it's definitely greater than 70, definitely greater than 60, definitely greater than 50. So people sometimes think, oh, this code's going to spit out A, B, C, and D. Well, in this case it won't, because we're using this else if. So if I run this again, you can see that it's printing off A because I am in fact in this condition. If I do, instead of using else if or saying otherwise if, I just said if, these are no longer separate paths that it can take, they're individual paths. So as I'm checking these, it will actually go through, and as I mentioned, the problem that I guessed before, it'll actually print off, or it should print off, all of the letters each time. So if I start the simulation now, when they're all ifs, you can see that each time it's printing off A, B, C, and D. So that's why it's very important when using if statements, if they're mutually exclusive or if only one of the conditions can be met at a time, then I need to use if, else if with another condition, else if with another condition, so on and so forth. And then I can use else as the catch-all if none of the other conditions are satisfied.